have the Rogue Echo bike. It's a pretty large and heavy box. It's under 60 kilos in weight and arrived on a Euro pallet. It's a quite a big long pallet, and it arrived horizontally. So I'll put it vertical now. It measures 144 centimetres. That's 56.5 inches in length. It measures 90 centimetres high. That's 35.5 inches. And it is 16 inches deep, 41 centimetres wide. So that gives you an approximate idea of how you can fit it into a space, and maybe if you've got to move it upstairs if you're in a flat. This is obviously in a garage, so it was just quite simply just brought straight in. The overall bike was wrapped in a white plastic wrap over the top, and I've taken all that off. So now I'm going to start unboxing and see what we think.
So the two things that you're going to need here, a cup of tea and a knife to cut open the box. The rest of the tools are inside. Now, although by the looks of it you could actually just cut open the top of the box here and open it with 4 flaps, it would be quite difficult just to get out or to tip it out. I suppose if you wanted to keep the box, you could go down that route, but on the box they have actually got some illustrations showing to cut the size of the box, which does make sense. You'll see why in a moment. Quite a decent full box, so useful if you wanted to keep it. I wouldn't do this. You'd probably just slide it out. The overall packing quality in the bike was excellent. None of the components were damaged. Sort of testament to them getting it right, really. As we all know, it's a very popular bike, so I expect they've sort of worked it through over the years. So that one's one of the arms for your hands. This is really why you need a knife, because otherwise you're just going to be struggling all the time to get all these parts out. I can see the side profile of the bike. Here's the toolkit that's included. So you've got a spanner, Allen key and wrench, and there's all the various fixings. Of course it comes with an instruction booklet there, and we all know what to do with instructions. Decent toolkit though, quality tools in there. Nice little bonus, I guess. So that one there is the computer mount. You have the front footrest, which comes with 2 caster wheels. And I feel that this would be the right hand side one because there's a logic that they've with their packing. So there's the bike in its entirety. Footrests, pedals, left hand handbar. We've got the computer. We've got the rear footrest and the support bar. So as if by magic, there's the various parts there. It does actually come with 2 batteries, which is great news. And you've got the foot pegs. So the first part we're going to do is we're going to put the take off the lower support. So there's a plastic support piece here. You just use your screwdriver to remove the. I think it's just 2 screws, one each side. I think this is just a packing part. So that's your very first step you're going to go through. The bike isn't particularly heavy, so I think it's not too difficult to try and support when you move it away. And the selection of parts here, we've got the crush washers. You can see that's a split. We've got 4 of those. We've got the washers, and we've got the M8 bolts and 4 of those. It's worth assembling them prior to put them in just to make it easier. So the split crush washer goes on first, then the regular washer. And we're going to use 4 of those. We use just 2 on the front and 2 on the back. So you might want a bit of help. The Rogue obviously goes facing so you can read it, and the wheels go forward. So you basically tilting the bike up from the back, you can wheel it around. You might want help supporting the bike whilst you do that, but with a lot of screws and bolts, if it's, I mean, it goes without saying, but it's always worth going finger first, just to find the thread, rather than just use the tool straight away. So as much as you can use your fingers to get them in, just help them find the thread. All of these bolts, they've got the blue lock type thread material on there. So now we're moving on to the back one. Again, it's just 2 bolts, so we've got them pre-assembled, bolt, split washer and washer. If you're struggling to align your holes, a tip you can use is if you take your screwdriver carefully, you can put the screwdriver down into the hole and shift it left to right, and you'll sort of help centre the part of the frame onto it. But it's a good amount of space, so it's not really a difficult hole and bolt to locate. Okay, so next page we're going to work on the pedals. They're nicely labelled. Again, with these, it's worth just starting as much as you can with your hands and go through, just because it saves an awful lot of time. And you're going to use the 15mm end of the open spanner. And on the right side, you're working clockwise. And then when you come to the left side, you go counterclockwise. I've obviously not illustrated that. Okay, so now you've got the bent washers. And again, just assemble it. So put them in order: regular split washer, bent washer, onto the M8 bolt. You're going to use 2 of those. So again, prepare them, put them in your pocket. Just it makes it easier to get to. Now this wire is just a one of those metal sort of things that it's just a wire with metal in, just to hold it in place. So you're going to connect up the 2 ends of the computer. So you've got the cable coming out from the bike already. Again, that's just held in place with a bar, one of those cable ties. That's what I was thinking of. And then what you need to do is work from the top and then thread it through down into the bike. So it just takes a little moment. Now, with this, I made a mistake where I tighten it all too much to start with, all the way down, because you're working on a sort of a curved part. What you should do is just tighten them in loosely to start with. Don't go too far down, and do the other side like I've realised now, because it's set too high, so I've got to loosen the side off. And just go from side to side, tightening them. As you can see, using an Allen tool like that, it's nice and long, so you can use it vertically to make short movements. And then when you need to add extra torque on there, use it horizontally, and you've got the length in your hand there, which will help tighten it down. Again, the M8 bolts have got that blue Loctite on there, so once you've got them tightened in, they shouldn't actually work loose, because that blue Loctite gets into the thread inside and holds it in place. Now, it doesn't actually mention it in the instructions, but here's the 4 screws and the 5th for the batteries. So take out those 4 screws from the base of the computer, and it's worth fitting the battery as well before you actually come to the stage. It's just simple because it's face down. There is access to the battery compartment when it's in place, but why make things difficult for yourself? So connect in, it only fits in one way. Thread the cable back down carefully. You don't want to pinch the cable in the stand, so you just take your time to feed it in. And then here's probably the more time-consuming part, is just lining up the four screws that hold the computer in place. As I mentioned, it wasn't particularly clear to remove the screws in advance or where they're located. I'd say the overall feel of the bike is very robust. And I've read a couple of reviews where people said they weren't impressed with the quality of the computer just because it felt cheap and plastic. But it doesn't need to be metal. It's not a part that's going to take abuse or be hit. It's the right material for the job. It's lightweight. The screws are easy enough to fix in place. Now, if you can see here, it's very worth noting. So you've got this is one of the arms. We've got the top thread there. Has to locate on the top spindle. It's painted white. You can just about see it. You'll see it when you get yours, and then that has to line up on there. Then we're going to take the longer M8 bolts, and then the split pin goes first, and it feeds from the front of the bike to the back. So you go front to back, and then take the nuts and put those onto the back. Use it on both sides. So the crush washer goes on. Then we're going straight onto that there. Take your box spanner, not box, open end spanner, and then the Allen key to the front. I think that's easier because if you hold the spanner in place, you're holding that nut in place. If you're holding the Allen key part in place and moving the spanner around, you've got to constantly keep moving the on and off the nut to locate it. So it's just an easier way to work. So what was worth noting is, look at those arms. On the inside of the arm there's a sticker and it says right and left. I'm just illustrating the bend should look like this, so both bend towards you rather than facing forward. It's worth making a note of that. And there are stickers on the inside which say left or right. So these are the foot pegs. The foam cap comes off. There's a bit large washer and a spacer. Comes assembled as it needs to go on, and it goes in there. Now these are actually quite difficult to get in, so don't worry when you start getting in if it feels quite stiff to start with. What you might need to do is just tighten it, back it off, tighten it. The thread does go in there, and I just found it was quite a laborious process getting these in, but it's a thick thread. You could put some grease on there if you wanted to make it easier. But the important thing to do is that you've got your two bolts holding the arm on to start with, and you need to make sure those are tight. So just go and double check it, and then when that's on, the foot peg outer spins freely. So I've got both sides, and there we are, it's complete. Now it's worth mentioning that you need to do a shakedown. So after you've ridden it for a while, just after a couple of goes, just go and tighten all the bolts up again, and it's ready to go. Thanks for watching.